Hey, we are back. Jeff, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm good, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. And today's our next episode of Fireside Chat with Grand Design RV.
Here we are.
Here we are. And guess what? We have another special guest today.
We climbed the ivory tower to get this one.
Yeah. Why don't you do the intro?
Let the hair down. Come on down. We got Mr. Steve Stuber in the house today. Hey, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Now, for those of
Thanks,
you,
guys.
for those of you who might not know Steve is our chief financial officer, and which means that he's the House of Representatives here. He's got the power of the purse.
That's right. He's got the checkbook. The man with the checkbook.
So he could either be the most loved or perhaps the most hated individual in our company, depending on the day. Is that how it feels?
Well, there are some days where I wonder, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Right.
mostly loved, I think.
Well,
But you
good.
never know. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But you know what they say, if everyone loves you,
Mm-hmm.
that can also be problematic.
Funny how some things at work feel like they're at home.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh.
some days
We'll
you feel
dig into
loved.
that.
Oh, yeah.
So part of this is you being who you are. We wanted to have you on here. We wanted to learn a little bit about you. This is going to be more of a biography, really, of Steve Stuber.
Oh, boy.
So our customers out there and our future customers can get to know you and who you are and kind of the flavor of the company here. And so we're not going to talk really as much about Grand Design as you'd expect. I want to go back even further, and we can unpack what you just said, because I think that's important to know. You know, you're the everyman. You know, you're a real dude.
It's quite the build-up, yes.
Well, you know, we'll dig into it.
All right.
So, Steve, where are you from?
Yeah, so you're going to catch the accent here. Minnesota.
Okay.
Yep, Minnesota. There's a lot of variations of that, but yep, from the Great White North.
Okay. Were you born there?
I was.
Gotcha.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
Oh, born and bred.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yes.
And you grew up there?
I did.
Did you go to school there, or did you go out of the state?
Yeah, so both my parents are from the Twin Cities area, and I have one sibling. We grew up in St. Paul and went to school locally there, in high school and college, stayed local. And so local for the most part. But as we dive into more history, I've moved quite a bit around the country.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some cool stories there.
Yeah.
So it's you and the Mall of America or what the Twin Cities are known for.
Mall of America has its positives and its negatives, but yes, we've definitely known for a destination for Mall of America, believe it or not.
Now, what's it like growing up in the Twin Cities, and how is that? You know, because that's a place where a lot of people fly through there, but
They
do people really get the experience? What's that like?
Minnesota definitely has a reputation for being cold. Let's just start there.
Sure.
And I would sell you on the spring, summer, and fall, but I would agree with those who would say, boy, I avoid it at all costs in the winter. It definitely has a lot to enjoy. There's a lot to enjoy there in the wintertime if you're into skiing, ice skating, things like that. We're known for hockey, of course. The biggest, one of our claims to fame is there's no other state high school hockey or tournament than the hockey tournament in Minnesota. So that's definitely an attraction during March, April timeframe.
So did you play hockey growing up? Are you a hockey guy?
You know, believe it or not, I am not.
Okay.
I've dabbled in it, but definitely not a hockey player. But I would say that, Minnesota having all 4 seasons, there's something for everyone. In terms of raising a family, which maybe we'll dive into a little bit, family values are strong. Great place to raise a family. All my family is still back in Minnesota, and it's a great place to visit, great place to have grown up. Really love the state and what it stands for. And but yeah, with that said, I'm an outlier. I did not play hockey.
Okay. Now, what do you think of Indiana?
So this is my second visit to Indiana in terms
Let's say
of
visit. You do live here.
I do live here now.
Are you a Hoosier?
I
Would
still
you
have-
consider yourself?
So at least you don't commute. You don't commute, do you, every day?
I do not
Okay,
commute.
good.
I still have feet in both camps, but we'll be selling our home here in Minnesota in about a year. So I will become a full-time Hoosier in about 6 to 9 months from now.
Okay.
So yes, getting ready for that transformation. I have no idea what a Hoosier is, but I'm slowly but surely finding out.
I think it's a political term that they use just around, election years. I don't really know myself. I
Well,
didn't grow up here.
Actually, I can shed some light on that.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, in my old education days, there was one time in some history books it actually says the name Hoosier came from back in the old, the pioneer days, the settling days. When they come traveling across the country and land in our area, they would knock at the door, and the people inside would say, "Who's there?"
Wow.
Suddenly makes sense.
Now,
yeah.
take that for what you want. That sounds like a good explanation to me.
It sounds reasonable. It's the best one I've heard so far.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
Fantastic.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So here you are, you're growing up. So there's we see this young wide-eyed Steven Stuber graduating from St. Paul High School, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more than one. And looking forward, here you are now, standing, at the precipice, the pinnacle of the RV industry. Did you ever think that it would be RVs?
So, yeah, you never know where life is going to take you. I did know one thing when I was fairly young. In high school, I knew I was going to be an accountant. Now, I don't know if that's anything to brag about. I'm sure at most
that is a level of self-actualization that I don't even think I could even comprehend. You knew you were going to be an accountant.
I did. And that runs the risk right now of most of our listeners potentially signing off once they know that they're hearing a guy talk about wanting to be an accountant in high school. Who wants that? But I did. I loved the idea of organization. I loved the idea of numbers coming together. I mean, I know it kind of sounds sad, but I did have a happy high school.
It's not sad.
Hey, you knew what you wanted,
It's different.
right?
I knew what I wanted. Yeah. And so here we are. Did I know RVs? No. I grew up in the food industry, and if you would have said to me a short 10 years ago, that I'd be living in northern Indiana in the RV industry, I would have said, well, whose life is that? That certainly. And so, but here I am and love every bit of it.
So this is an interesting part here, the food industry. So you worked, correct me if I'm wrong, for General Mills for a long time.
Did.
Now, is that a Minnesota company?
Mm-hmm.
It is. So that's where they're at, and that's where you. Yeah. So help me link up here. So you come out of high school, you become a CPA, and you decide it's General Mills. I'm a hometown guy. This is what I want. I want to go, and and I want to do accounting for General Mills. That's what happened.
That's the dream.
Okay.
And the dream came to fruition. Yes. So, started out at Ernst & Young for a couple years in public accounting and realized, boy, what a great company to have worked for. And then the opportunity came to work for Pillsbury, which ultimately was purchased by General Mills. And to your point, Jeff, 24 years. And it's kind of interesting to say those words, 24 years. Who does anything for 24 years? But it was a great 24 years. I enjoyed every bit of it. Quality company, yes, located and headquartered in Golden Valley, Minnesota, and got to learn and work with some great individuals whom a lot of their training and a lot of their values that I still try to live out to this day. No matter that crossover any industry, a lot of those things that you learn, they transcend anything that you do in life. And so here we are in the RV industry, but I still practice and preach a lot of what I learned in those early days in the food industry.
Well, it had to be pretty formative. I'm looking at this list here. I'm gonna read this here. Listen to this, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Gold medal flour. We've all heard of gold medal.
Yeah.
Annie's homegrown, which the more of the organic type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Laura Bar, Cascadian Farm, Betty Crocker. I mean, Betty Crocker.
Yeah. Staple in the kitchen.
Oh, Yoplait, Nature Valley, Totino's, the pizza rolls, Pillsbury, Old El Paso, Haagen-Dazs, the ice cream, as well as these breakfast cereals: Cheerios, Wheaties, Chex, Lucky Charms, Trix, Cocoa Puffs, and Count Chocula, and based on this Wikipedia page, the other monster cereals.
The other monster cereals.
That you love during Halloween. Yeah.
All of those things. What an iconic collection of brands.
Childhood memories just brought back by Jeff.
Really?
Right?
And, never would I have thought as a young man pouring my honey nut Cheerios and reading the back that there was a guy in Minnesota making it happen. And one day he would essentially make it happen for my company too.
And be on our podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny how the world works.
It is funny.
All those brands that you trust and know, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you've talked a little bit when we've talked privately about the company and what you did and the manufacturing processes and the things that you did. And it's one of those things, people go to the store and they buy a box of cereal. They don't think of the whole infrastructure that goes behind that.
Right.
And in a way, RVs are the same way. You go to an RV dealership or you go to an RV show, you see this thing, you research it, you buy it, but there's so much behind the scenes. And so that's kind of why I think there is a little bit of a parallel here between the two best known companies out there, Grand Design and General Mills. That perhaps you can bring some insight to our audience here. Like what are some things that, you think they should know from the standpoint of a higher level behind the scenes?
No.
Because here's the thing. I think this is American culture. American culture is anything goes wrong, someone's cutting corners. Someone's trying to save a buck. You're the guy who would be doing those things. So we want to hear from you. Is that
that's
true?
What a lot of people think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like a lot of us who have, picked a trade or picked a profession that we want to work in, we learn those things at an early stage in our career, and we're thankful for those who have taught us how to be better in our function. But I think as we grow and mature, we aspire to something more. We connect with something that's more broad than just our function that we work in. So yeah, I'm an accountant, finance professional, but yet I don't identify as an accountant or a finance professional. I identify with the brands that I work for. And I think what taught me early on at Pillsbury and General Mills is that brands stand for a lot. And when you think about whether it's, I saw Tom's eyes light up when you were going through some of those General Mills brands. Probably because it invokes a lot of emotion and memories that you had over time. And so that's the power of brand. And that's, in my profession, you use the word chief financial officer in an intimidating kind of way, Jeff. It actually sounded,
really?
Oh yeah, it was very strong and powerful, almost intimidating. And with that comes a responsibility, I think as a CFO or, to not overplay the title and really just become a part of the team in terms of what we're trying to do. I think most of us who work for a company will identify with what is the mission and vision of the company, and that plays out in the brands to ultimately the consumers who buy those brands, and the fact that they're able to pick up a box of Cheerios or the fact that they're able to buy a Grand Design RV and not think twice about the fact that it's going to be safe, that they can trust it, and that it's going to be backed with the best service or the best quality that the industry has to offer. And I think that's true food as well as in the RV industry.
Are there moments? Well, let's start with General Mills first.
Yeah.
Were there moments where you had to make a decision and think, hey, this will be better for the bottom line, but it will affect quality, so I'm not going to do it?
For sure. You think about food, you cannot sacrifice quality in food. Right? If you do, there are probably detrimental impacts that we don't even want to talk about on this broadcast. So generally, the idea was to invest even more in safety and product quality. It's a very aggressive, I should say, it's a very competitive industry, and that, the barriers to entry over time have come down. And so a lot of people want to identify with a brand that they can own. And with that comes a lot of competition. So a lot of our money was invested in actually making our products more safe, more competitive. And so, there's a balance between trying to deliver on shareholder expectations in the short term, but also look out for the long term of the brand. And what we all know is that brands need to be nurtured over time, right? It's kind of like going back to family. You have kids, you raise them, but you don't forget about them once they leave the house. It's a lifelong experience. Much like brands are. They need to be nurtured over time, and they might look different at points in time, but they all have the same underlying values.
Well, that's interesting because, a lot of people don't like, because there is power in brands. People don't like when you mess with the brands. Like you've got the Pillsbury Doughboy. Everyone
Right.
knows you poke the guy and he'll, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if you were to change that guy
Yeah.
and made him, I don't know, made him green, people wouldn't like that. In the same way, you look at our company, the company that's been going, since 2012, 2013. There's some necessary changes that take place over time. And a lot of people are very suspicious of that. And so, when you came on board, obviously you came on board at a time where the brand had been somewhat established, but there's still a lot of runway there. So what have you seen kind of from when you've got here, looking back, because you were in the RV industry before you got to Grand Design, so you kind of had that awareness. But what is Grand Design then and now, and what's the future?
Yeah. Yeah. So, going back to the idea of would I ever thought I'd be working in the RV industry and specifically Grand Design, 10 years ago, I've been in the RV industry for 2 now with Grand Design. And I was able to watch Grand Design from afar in my previous role to learn what it was about and realized it was a team that I would love to be a part of someday. And that endearment or that sort of attraction came from the idea that the Grand Design brand was being nurtured and cared for by a group of people that all had, that interest in mind. And so coming from a branded company, I knew the power of that, and that's something that I wanted to be a part of. Grand Design was started with some founding pillars that have not been compromised. So things that haven't changed are some of those pillars that the company was founded on. What is changing is the evolution that comes along with maturity, right? We want to continue to grow. I think one of the things that I think we all want is we want to grow, but yet we want to hang on to some of what we had, which is not to become too big. And there's a difference in my mind. And I heard this articulated over the last couple of weeks in that if you're not growing, you're probably not going in the wrong direction. But there is a way to make sure that we stay intimate with, our consumers in terms of what the brand means, so that we don't become too big. And to me, there's a difference in being able to grow, but yet still staying nimble and connected to who really matters, which are end consumers. And we do that with partnership with our dealers. But in the end, what matters is delivering on the expectations of our consumers. And so what's changing is certain evolutions in terms of how we ensure we stay connected with that end consumer. That could be in areas of elevating our game in sales, in marketing, in IT, and how we reach our consumers differently in the messaging that goes out in various communication forums. It can change my job in terms of where we choose to invest. Believe me, Jeff, we could make a lot more money. If you told me we could make more money tomorrow, I could tell you exactly how to do it. I'm not so sure that's in the interest of the long run, and that is what we're interested in long term is making sure that Grand Design delivers on our consumer expectations in the long run. And so those are some of the things that are changing in terms of where we're choosing to invest, not losing sight, though, of the pillars and the values that made us what we are today. 11 years in, you can look at 10 years and say, boy, that's a long time. If I go back to my history at General Mills, we celebrated 150 years. And that was a company that never continued to innovate and evolve. And that's what I see happening here, is we're still very young. And we still have a lot of runway ahead of us in terms of how we need to continue to innovate and evolve.
So circling back, I'd asked about General Mills and those decisions that you had to make and you said you could find out a way tomorrow to make more money. So if you could, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do think it's important for our customers to hear this, because the confidence in the brand is, I think, inextricably linked to the confidence of the people that are running it.
No.
So what is an example of something that, hey, we could flip the switch tomorrow, we'd make more money, but we're not going to do it because it's not the right thing to do?
Yeah, right on. So one of the things that I think makes us different is that we realize you can't do. It's not just one thing that makes us special. It's a combination of a lot of things, and I'm sure we all have our different definition of what it is. But in my mind, if we do these things really well, we have a chance to be the best in terms of matching end consumers' expectations, and that's quality, service, and innovation. So my example comes through service. We have yet to build the perfect RV. I'm not so sure we'll ever build the perfect RV. And when somebody says we did, I'm sure there will be somebody else who recognizes, yeah, but you could be even better. Perfect will never probably happen, but we strive for that. One of the ways we invest behind our products is in service, recognizing that we have yet to build the perfect RV, but we back it up with service. And so we just recently invested in more service capacity here in Elkhart as a way to tell our consumers and our dealers that service is as important as anything else that we do. And I believe that's different in terms of us versus some of our competition, but also says that we are committed to the consumer and our dealers, not only at the point of purchase, but after they've bought a Grand Design product, such that we will not lose sight of you just because you put out, thousands of dollars of your hard-earned money to buy that product. We don't lose sight of you at that point in time. We'll stay with you through your whole experience, through more service capacity. That was, believe me, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're investing that we didn't have to.
So what does that look like?
To do.
What does that look like from a layman's term? If so I want to go see what your hundreds of thousands of dollars built in Elkhart County. What does that look like? Where do I go?
Yeah, County Road 17.
Okay.
There's a big, huge facility sitting on County Road 17. We had a chance, an adjoining facility that's just across the parking lot became available to us, and we jumped on it. Was it needed? Was it necessary? Was it absolutely critical? No, but 2 to 3 years down the road, I know we're going to need that space, and that will make us even better. So it is an example of where I think it's a continued investment in one of the 3 pillars that I think are critical to our company's success.
And I think it's good to define what that looks like too, because it's easy for us to say, okay, we just spent, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a building in Elkhart County. How does that affect the guy in California who just bought a Grand Design who needs service? Well, yeah, I think it's important that when you look at Grand Design, when you look at it as a service platform, because there's sides of it, right? There's obviously the production side of it, the sales side of it, the service side of it. The dealer body out there can only be as good as we allow them to be from a standpoint of support. And so when we have, a 300,000 square foot building on County Road 17, and then add on to that, correct, that is just it's a bottom up approach of supporting our dealers. And you're saying that's kind of the culture. That's what we're doing.
It is. Jerry McCarthy, who heads up our service area, will tell you there's no thing more important than backing up our customers after the point of purchase than with the quality service and demonstrating to our dealers, what good service looks like. We have a backlog right now of service needs. That additional capacity that we just invested in, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars annually, by the way. It's not just a one-time investment. It is a continual investment. And we'll be able to get to those consumers earlier than if we hadn't done this. And so it's not only what we do, it's when we do it. And that, what we hope to do, what I would love to do is to continue to invest in our mobile tech, just to kind of pull on this service string a little bit. We have mobile techs right now throughout the country whose target is to service people who are in need now. They can't get to a service facility. Those folks will not only service a Grand Design RV, they will service anyone who they see on the side of the road who needs service.
Yeah. That's a very cool thing too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, that's nowhere in the financial model.
Right. And they can't accept
No.
But let me be
payment
clear.
for that, right?
Right. They're not going to, and we're
Right.
not going to charge them. It's the right thing to do.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
And you can't put a dollar value that there nowhere in my algorithms, in my financial modeling, do I find, but I don't need to. It's the right thing to do. And that's
Right. Well, and I want to circle back a little bit too, because what you've been talking about the last couple of minutes, I can sum up in one of my famous, or well, not my famous, excuse me, but one of my favorite quotes of all time from Vince Lombardi: "Perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence."
yeah.
And you were talking about that, and I think that's what kind of, to me, grand design kind of stands for.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the things why I came, there's never a perfect time to probably, upheave your family and make a change. My wife and I, we've moved. This is our fifth move during our 32 years of marriage and raising 3 daughters. And it takes something a little bit bigger than just, it takes a higher calling. I would say that when you make a choice to do that. And when I've learned the values and have been able to be a part of what grand design is all about, that pursuit of perfection, that's pretty inspirational. And to think that, you do it with RVs, okay, yeah, RV is the tangible output, but what we're really doing, right? It's there's a higher calling there. We are actually making memories available to families in the outdoors. And that's what we're all about, right? When I was at General Mills, we didn't think about it as putting out a biscuit, a Pillsbury biscuit. We kind of thought about what is the occasion that it's facilitating. It's facilitating families coming together, making memories at the dinner table. We at Grand Design, we make that outdoor experience in creating memories the best one that it can be. That our execution on making the best quality RV will not get in the way of making those lifetime memories. That is what a brand instills in our consumers, and I believe is what attracted me here.
Now, let's dig deeper here, because I've often wondered this, and I ask, quite a few people, but where do these values come from? It's easy to walk into a company and be a part of it and say, this is a company with a great corporate culture. Everyone's on the same page, or at least going in the same direction. There are these values. We want to do right by the customer. And then you could easily go to a competitor or a different company and say, wow, I don't get that here at all. Everyone's self-serving, self-seeking. Let's just talk about grand design and maybe mention, General Mills, since that's where you came from, but where are these values coming from, and what's the source?
Yeah. So, here we are. We're all quite mature, right? We're more mature than we were 10, 15 years ago. Think about when you were in your 20s, just coming out of college. You were all gung-ho. You wanted to learn. You were, not that learning ever stops, but your first and foremost goal was to learn your trade. And wherever you could do that, wherever you could learn the most, that's what you cared about. Eventually, over time, you understood that, boy, what I do could be done virtually anywhere. So now I'm going to start valuing who I work with, and even more broader, what is the broader culture? So here we are today, talking more about culture than what we know in terms of our trade, and that being the most important thing. Culture is one of those things that, it can start with tone at the top. It can start with, the founding members of the company in terms of what they aspired the company to be, and in terms of, can it be different than what the industry has typically known? And I think that was part of one of the founding pillars of grand design is, how can we treat our employees differently? And I believe our culture is built on that one pillar, which is, you take care of your employees first, the others will be taken care of even better. And others meaning our dealers and our end consumers. So we spend a lot of time, what I've noticed, and again, part of why I wanted to be a part of this company is how we care for our employees. We try to treat everyone with respect, no matter what the situation is. We try to give everyone a working environment that they want to be a part of every day, that they come to work inspired, and that we always do the right thing. And I think those things over time keep building on themselves, such that we're able to attract really good talent and we're able to retain it. Because, if I use myself as an example, culture is one of the bigger things that attracted me here. Now I'm a part of it. There's a big responsibility to carry it on. And I think that's what I've witnessed, is that people come here because of the attraction, but then they quickly understand I'm now a part of it. And with that comes a big responsibility to make sure we don't lose it. So I think it started with the founders of the company, but quickly it became all of our responsibility.
Yeah. And how is it maintained? I mean, you mentioned there's a responsibility, but it can't be all you. And I'll tell you, it's not all you. I mean, you're a big part of it, but it's a big company. We've got how many employees now?
Just over 2,000, so 2,100.
Okay. And so that is something I've developed my own theories about. And, I kind of define culture is letting good people do what they do best. And I think there's nothing worse than when you have someone who is talented, who's inspired, like you said, and then they're dampened. Someone says, no, don't do that. That falls outside of not who we are as a company, but that's too innovative, or that's just not how we've done things. So, it's interesting to see Grand Design. It continually, it does evolve. We are all going in the same direction. We're on the same page. And yet there is that freedom of expression that translates into real tangible work and real tangible benefits for the end consumer.
Yeah. There's a lot. I think I heard it recently described as, look, we always are in the same boat together. At times in my career, I've felt like, boy, is everyone in the same boat? Or is there somebody who doesn't want to come in the boat with me? And if something goes wrong, what's going to happen, right? Here, what I see as differential is we get in the boat together. We make a decision together, but yet we're not told the stroke to use. We know the direction we're going in. We're all in the same boat, but yet we might find our own stroke, the how to get there. No one's telling us what the stroke is to use, but we know what the goal is. We know where we want to go. We'll get there, but we're given the freedom in terms of how we're going to get there. And I love that. I love that the entrepreneurial mindset is very much alive here at Grand Design. 11 years in, we are still very much an entrepreneurial company because of that sort of thought. So
I remember when I started, I was told the same thing. They said, our goal is to hire the best people we can, get out of their way, let them do their thing, and support them. So I think that is a very crucial part of our culture here. Yeah. I agree. Oh, I guess it's time to go, Jeff.
Oh, yeah, man. Count Chocula's got to come in here for his nap, so we got to clear the room.
Yeah.
So
all right.
It's been great having you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve, for joining us today.
Appreciate the opportunity. It's been really fun.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Until next time.